Does the banking system have a derivatives problem? The Office of Comptroller of the Currency, OCC, puts out a quarterly report on bank trading and derivatives activities. Well, as of December 2021, the 25 largest bank holding companies in the United States are sitting on about $234 trillion notional, that's face amount, in derivatives. But just 5 bank holding companies are responsible for $200 trillion of that exposure, or roughly 86% of the total. Those mega banks are JP Morgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America. These banks should sound familiar because they're the same mega banks who got trillions from the Fed during the emergency repo operations in 2019 and early 2020, minus Bank of America, of course. But what's even more interesting is that 4 out of those 5 are the largest shareholders in the New York Fed, who disperses all this money. That's JP Morgan, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley. Those 4 banks also represent about 2/3 of the 8 global systemically important banks, according to the Financial Stability Board, which was formed, by the way, after the great financial crisis of 2009. Speaking of 2009, let's not forget that the New York Fed was given unprecedented powers by the Federal Reserve Board of Governors to hand out that $29 trillion in bailout that fixed the bank's problem before. This kind of seems like a conflict of interest, doesn't it? Recently, Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of JP Morgan, said, "Prepare for an economic hurricane. Must be nice to get bailed out every single time that you make a huge mistake that would normally be riddled with oversight and litigation, pain, and suffering for the average person."
It's a hurricane. Right now it's kind of sunny. Things are doing fine. Everyone thinks the Fed can handle this. That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way. We just don't know if it's a minor one or Superstorm Sandy or Sandy or Andrew or something like that. And you better brace yourself.
Remember, these are just the big banks. We're not even talking about the smaller family offices, like the $2 billion mistake from Thomas Cook back in 2019, just before the emergency repo operations, or Bill Wang's $20 billion mistake in 2021 that took down Archegos. A few more notes on derivatives. See, Wall Street has a history of blowing things up with derivatives. Let's not forget Merrill Lynch in Orange County, California, back in 1997 to 1998, which at the time led to an all-time high settlement of over $400 million. Some of the biggest trading houses on Wall Street blew up. The giant issuer AIG, not sure if you remember that, with derivatives back in 2008, forcing the $185 billion bailout. We got JP Morgan Chase blew up $6.2 billion in depositors' money in the London whale derivatives scandal of 2012 and 2013. And according to the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission, mouthful I know, FCIC, derivatives played an outsized role in the spread of financial panic in 2008. The FCIC wrote in its final report the existence of millions of derivatives contracts of all types between systematically important financial institutions, unseen and unknown in this unregulated market, added to uncertainty and escalated panic. Lastly, we have Andrew Lal and Desal Kim, who are 2 well-respected researchers that work for the Office of Financial Research. The OFR is a federal agency that was created under the Dodd-Frank financial reform legislation of 2010 to closely monitor financial threats and analyze data so that Wall Street's global banks could never again crash the U.S. financial system as they did in 2008. Now, these 2 have been sounding the alarm bell on the derivatives exposures that banks are carrying with their OTC deals, OTC meaning over the counter, since as early as July of 2021, where they wrote an initial report. Now, they just came out with an updated report in September of 2022 and had the following to say: "We investigate whether banks' counterparty choices in OTC derivative markets contribute to network fragility. We use novel confidential regulatory data and show that banks are more likely to choose densely connected non-bank counterparties and do not hedge such exposures. Banks are also more likely to connect with riskier counterparties for their most material exposures, suggesting the existence of moral hazard behavior in network formation. Finally, we show that these exposures are correlated with systematic risk measures despite greater regulatory oversight after the crisis. Overall, the results provide evidence of risk propagation in bank networks through non-bank linkages in opaque markets." In short, we've got a problem. They're nervous about it, and they're trying to sound the alarm bell. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Did I miss anything with the derivatives exposure that are currently the big banks are exposed to? Any other stories that you'd like to add or thoughts in the comments below? Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new here, take a second, subscribe, hit the bell notification. It only takes a second. Share this with a friend so that we can continue to spread the word around and more people can understand what is going on. Till the next time, my friends. See ya.